Hey guys, okay, so I'm back, part two, right? And today I want to talk about boundaries. And because we're talking about boundaries, it means we have to talk about this thing called the situationship, right? Or I don't know, when people are like, no, we're not together, we're just hanging. So boundaries are really important in any relationship, fair. But I think, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, because it is very easy to get into the habit of allowing yourself the benefits of a relationship without the commitment. Okay. This is called Single Tips from a Single Christian Girl. Okay. So, obviously, I'm going to mention, for example, the boundaries that the Bible gives us, right? Is one of them being successful marriage. Okay, so if we don't understand that, if we are not in that specific context, we should not be enjoying the benefits of that context. Okay, same thing with dating. If you don't know, if you are not clear whether or not you are dating somebody, you should not be enjoying the benefits of being in a relationship with that person, if that context hasn't been defined. And that's really why I think I'm so much of an old school person in that sense, because I'm like, the when you ask me, will you be my girlfriend, that is, that is you giving a clearly defined, you're clearly defining where it is we are and what it is we're doing. That also lets me know, okay, it means this is where we are allowed to go, this is where we are not allowed to go. So, and really, I think sometimes, I mean, most of the time when people talk about this situationship thing, they're saying, yeah, it's about not being, committed or not putting labels on it. And I think that sentence or that phrase comes up a lot in our culture today. But I think it is really important to put labels on it. You need to know what it is you're doing, right? Because that is really what you should use to inform how vulnerable you are with somebody, how vulnerable you want to be with someone, right? When you are in a relationship, that's also what kind of lets you know what your I think that conversation will kind of also inform, where do you draw the line in terms of you having or your partner having a relationship with somebody else. So I know many girls that are like, oh, I think I am in an emotional relationship with somebody else, but they don't see that as cheating, because of how they have defined, like how they define the boundaries of the relationship in their current relationship, right? So it can get really tricky. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Even last week's video, like, I'd love to hear what your approach is to dating, why you've chosen to take that specific approach, if there is a reason. But I think boundaries are a really big topic for today. And I think paired with that, what I will say is my approach, I think, or how I think about it, right, is also very much this thing of deal breakers. So I believe that when you get into a relationship with somebody, you need to know very clearly what your deal breakers are, very clearly. Okay. Also, you cannot have 10 deal breakers or 5 deal breakers, because a deal breaker is really saying, look, you're actually saying to the other person, look, if you start engaging in this activity, then you know that I'm going to effectively end this relationship. There's no wiggle room here for me. So, you have like 2 or 3 deal breakers each. And what that means is, if that happens, then the relationship is over. But it means anything else is on the table for us to be discussed. Not necessarily that I will say yes to it all, not necessarily that I will agree with it, but anything else I must be willing to compromise on, because we are in a relationship. And I think the beauty of relationships, really, just kind of as I look at them from far, the beauty of relationships is, I think Ezekiel said it once, and I completely agree. I will never know who I am. Like, I will never discover 100% of who I am and who, if outside the context of a romantic relationship, outside the context of a marriage, not a romantic relationship, a marriage, because they are the sharpening that happens in the context of marriage is nowadays, I think unfortunately most people can't handle the sharpening, which is why the divorce rate is so high. But I think the sharpening that happens in marriage really allows you to discover places of yourself that you cannot discover as a single person, as a person on your own. So yeah, I think today it would be just be really clear about your boundaries, and second of all, define what your deal breakers are. And once you know what your deal breakers are, share them so that that expectation is shared. We'll talk about expectation probably next week or the week after. But share them so that the expectations are known, and anything else, then you have to be willing to come and sit at the table and talk through. You have to be willing to compromise on everything else. Okay, have a good week. See you guys next week. Okay, I know I said bye, but I want to add something. Very important, deal breakers are not used to control the other person. So if that's the sense that you're getting in your relationship, then something is wrong around how you're doing deal breakers. And the second thing was, just because I say, I can't know fully who I am outside the context of marriage, it doesn't mean that I cannot be a full person as a single person. Just putting that out there, really, it's not really something that you fight about. It's really just to say that, there are things you learn in the context of a relationship that you cannot learn as a single person. So, if you have examples of things that you can, that's great, but there are things that we can't discover about ourselves outside the context of a relationship. So, yeah, now really goodbye.